from WBBZ-TV Sports. It's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Hi, bowlers and Western New York sports fans. Welcome to Beat the Champ, week number 2 of our stay here in Lockport, New York at Allie Brandt Lanes. And week number 1 was maybe, Sue, one of our most interesting, and that's a tribute to our returning champion. David Tolkacz was the only guy to figure out how to master these lanes.
Right, talk about nerves of steel. He was out here not bowling for a long time, not as experienced as the people he bowled against, but yet he toughed out those lane conditions, and we saw it pay off. Toughed
out by not only scoring over 200 in one of his 3 victorious matches. So we'll see if that continues today. And we've got a good lineup of bowlers as well. We've got Matt Zasowski, who with a win today will tie for the most Beat the Champ victories. And then we get 2 guys making their debuts, Dave Sherman and the reigning Obenauer Masters champion, Kevin Bienko's first appearance on the show.
Yeah, and those bowlers have seen a lot of sport shots. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays into how it's going to turn out.
Should be a lot of fun today. I know it'll be a lot of fun for you because when the Tolkacz clan travels, it makes your job a lot of fun.
Yeah, it does. I mean, they have such great energy, and I can only hope that they bring that here today with us.
So it should be another great day of bowling, another interesting day of bowling here at Allie Brandt Lanes in Lockport. So let's get rolling. First match of the day is our defending champion there on the left. That's Dave Tolkacz. Another Dave is challenger here in match number 1. That's Dave Sherman. We'll talk about Dave Sherman in a moment, but what a great story Dave Tolkacz has been. This is 4 wins in a row for him. He's within striking distance of our record of consecutive victories. He can do that on this show today if he keeps bowling the way he's been bowling. And even though, as we talked about it, Sue, not putting up big scores, what Dave Tolkacz did last week was figure out a way to master these lanes that have been hard for even some of our best bowlers to master.
Right, but the one thing they do understand, or they have begun to understand from what they saw last week, is that this is a game of making spares and not so much maybe a game of, throwing strikes, because it's about knocking down pins and beating your opponent, right?
Right. Now, obviously, we should repeat as we get a spare in the first frame from Dave Tolkacz. This is not a house pattern, which is what we normally see on our show. This is a sport pattern, NCAA-related pattern. That's what Brian Borowski told us last week, that the decision was made in conjunction with our 9 bowlers who are on the show this month to go with this pattern, and it really seemed to trip some people up a little bit in the first show.
Right, and after we talk about it, Dave's first shots here on this, we're going to talk a little bit about what that means, because a house pattern, it's a house pattern versus sport pattern. What does that mean? But as far as Dave's first shot here, saw the little struggles with the pattern. His ball didn't roll up for him because the oil's in a different spot than what they're accustomed to the oil being in.
And a nice spare for Dave Sherman, the 28-year-old from Hamburg, New York, making his Beat the Champ debut. More details on Dave coming up when we see him the next time. Actually, when he's going to slide over, so we can tell you that he's been bowling since he's about 4 years old. Mentioned to you from Hamburg, works in the retail industry, and also, interestingly enough, part of a fantasy football flex podcast. Podcasts are becoming such a popular form of media, and Dave is involved in a fantasy football one, and we're getting right to that time of the year when people are thinking about football. So good luck to Dave with that, and everybody's always thinking fantasy football. So, but at the moment, focusing on bowling right now, and he needs that 7-pin to pull off another spare.
And of course, that will not count
Didn't think
because
so.
it went in the gutter first and bounced out, so we'll fix that on the scoreboard. But that was a very unusual way you saw someone attacking a spare, and we had talked a little bit last week about going to a hard surface ball to make spares on a sport shot, because generally speaking, the oil is to the left of you. So where the norm on a house shot, there's nothing but oil to the left of you. So that holds the ball off and makes it a little bit easier to get to the pocket. Not so much on these patterns.
Now, if you were with us last week, you saw that Dave Tolkacz had figured out that he was much better on lane 34 on the right than he was on 33. Matter of fact, in his last match that he came up with a win over Joe Pullman, I think he struck in every time he was on lane 34.
He did take advantage of that, but as the day goes on, that lane's going to change too, and it may change for him, as we saw him go Brooklyn on that shot right there. Everything's going to be breaking down
And it certainly helps when he can strike on the difficult lane 33 as well, too. 39 years old is Dave Tolkacz from Buffalo, works as an internet marketing agent, and great story for Dave that we'll repeat when we see him around the next time. But back now to Dave Sherman, who bowls regularly in a league on Tuesday nights down in the Hamburg area.
Your neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's always, we haven't had enough of Southtowners on this show. So yeah, I live in Hamburg, so good to see Dave on the show here. I know exactly where he hangs out and bowls. It's a great little spot there in the village of Hamburg. So good for Dave to make his debut here on the show.
Now, Dave appears to still be in a spot where he's not getting enough friction.
And boy, that's an interesting triumvirate of pins left in the third frame here. So that's back-to-back opens for Dave Sherman. Just got back into bowling towards the end of 2016 after taking about 3 years off, and for various reasons. We mentioned work and the podcast that he's doing, and good for him to jump back into the sport and get to the point where he qualifies fourth for this month's shows. And things are not working for him right now. Picket fence on the right side of lane number 33.
No, this is what we've been seeing. We've been seeing if you miss in a little bit, because there's dry to the left of you, the ball's going to hook for you. So it's very important to hit your target, and your ball speed has to stay consistent every single time. That's not only is that difficult when you're sharp during the season, it's even more difficult when you've had time off. Like the bowling season ended in late April, and you're just not bowling as much as you would be during the season. So this is double challenging.
Back to David Tolkacz, who has gone spare, strike in the first three. This is fourth frame. 39 years old from Buffalo, been bowling most of his life, although took a healthy chunk of it off and just got back into bowling, literally 17 years off from bowling. But Dave has just gotten back to it, and we have, if you've been with us the last couple of weeks here, he was the 24th qualifier at the Tonawanda Bowling Center. Didn't even think he made, the show had gone home. His girlfriend had to get him back to the bowling center to bowl, and then he winds up being the 9th and last qualifier at Tonawanda, and then knocks off the red-hot Michael Kemp, ends his 4-match winning streak, and then he's now on a 4-match winning streak of his own, which has included a win over Kemp that came last week.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
I'm here with Dave Sherman, a new face to Beat the Champ. Only qualified a couple times, made the show, and on a sport pattern. Are you intimidated at all by that?
Not really. I bowl on a sport pattern out of transit every week, so.
So you were part of the voting for this sport pattern, and we've seen a little bit of lower scores. What's your strategy towards lanes today?
The way it looks out there, it's just picking up spares.
Totally agree. That's what we've seen. So good luck to you today, and I hope you make all your spares.
Thank you.
Did not get enough right to left break there, and that leaves those 3 pins up, and it's just those little adjustments right now that Dave Tolkacz has been making that his opponents have not been. And again, it's always tough. Dave Sherman in his debut here on Beat the Champ, we have generally seen bowlers in their debuts have struggled. Good spare pickup though for Dave Sherman.
Yep, I was thinking the same thing, where your first time experiencing this is always, there's a little bit of a learning curve to what it feels like, what the lights are like, what people are doing around you, and then having to deal with a complicated lane condition on top of it.
Right.
It's extra challenging.
And Dave Sherman, one of 2 bowlers making their debuts on this week's show. And again, not a lot of ball speed there for Dave Tolkacz. He does get 8 pins to go down, leaves himself a makeable spare. And you're right, it's kind of funny that it's flipped now. He's struggling more on lane 34 than he is on 33, which was the exact opposite of week 1.
Well, one thing about these lane patterns is angles are very, very important, because the oil is down generally in strips, and strips are every bowler's nightmare, which means there's a strip of oil, there's a strip of dry.
Yep, yeah. That's a disappointing miss there for Dave Tolkacz. its impact to be determined, but we thought that looked like a relatively easy spare. Instead, it's an open in the 8th for Dave Tolkacz. Don't forget, we have a couple of more chances for you to qualify for next month's shows at the Rapids Bowling Center. This weekend, final chance with the roll-off coming on Sunday night, the 30th, for our top 24 qualifiers. And don't forget, number 1 of that top 24 list of qualifiers gets the $500 value Dirt Cheap TV. Next taping for next month's shows at the Rapids Bowling Center, Niagara Falls, comes up on the 31st.
Right, so now we're seeing a definite change in what he's seeing out there. And he's got a healthy lead that's could be worn away by a couple of strikes by Dave. What looked insurmountable is no longer insurmountable.
It's been that way here at Allie Brandt Lanes. It's made these matches very interesting. And again, that'll be a back-to-back opens for Dave Tolkacz in the 8th and 9th frames.
So we've got a situation here where he can, where Dave Sherman can actually double and go ahead in this match by 3 pins. But we know the strikes are not that easy to come by, and this 9th frame is very important.
So after the disappointing start of 2 opens early, here's Dave Sherman with a chance to still win this match. Oh, tough break there. Couldn't get that 4-pin down.
Well, he still hasn't. He still can make this and cut that lead down 8 pins. He's only down 8 pins going into the 10th, so he can create a situation to really challenge Dave when he's lost lane 34. Good spare.
Good spare in the 9th frame for Dave Sherman.
Nothing is absolute on a lane condition like this, you know. He's
No, it makes for great matches, and the spectators here are enjoying it. I'm sure our TV viewers are enjoying it too. These have been a lot of fun to watch because of the unpredictability.
And this is where the invisible obstacles come into play.
And that's not the break that Dave Sherman wanted. I think you can see that on his face.
Everything seems to be going Dave Tolkacz's way, and he has to take advantage of it.
With a chance for Dave Tolkacz to win his 5th consecutive match.
You know, but back to the invisible obstacles. I mean, it's one of the things that you would see on the PBA as well if you're watching the telecast. Sometimes you'll see these scores of 140, 150, 160, and it's like you feel like I can go out and bowl better than that. What's with these people?
Yeah,
but they have invisible obstacles out there that they're trying to figure out as they're bowling.
Yeah, and guess what? Somebody, those people that are saying that are probably going to be lucky to break 100 on those
on that shot. Unless you've thrown a ball on one, you have no idea.
So the 166 is the final score on the board for Dave Sherman, and it's not going to be enough to win, and Dave Tolkacz will be on his way to a 5th consecutive victory. Maybe it was unlikely when it started. It's not unlikely anymore, because now Dave Tolkacz has moved himself into within one of our all-time consecutive wins record. He's tied for 2nd now with Michael Kemp and Joe Chifa, and the record of consecutive wins is 6, held by Tyler Molina, Mike Zarcone, Matt White, and maybe soon Dave Tolkacz. We'll see. Matt Zasowski got something to say about that in our 2nd match, but what a great run here for Dave Tolkacz, a guy who took 17 years off from the sport and got a little bit hooked on coming back into it thanks to video games. You mentioned that last week, and what a wonderful story it has been. So it's a 179 to 166 win for Dave Tolkacz. Make that 161 is the score for Dave Sherman. So another win for Dave. We'll talk to one Dave and get you ready for the other Dave's match against Matt when we return. It's Beat the Champ at Allie Brandt Lanes in Lockport. We're back right after this. Well, Dave Sherman, again, another victim of the red-hot Dave Tolkacz, your debut on Beat the Champ, and it has to be on a rather tough lane condition. Take me through that match.
I just left an open early, and it got to me, and Just couldn't find the pocket, really.
Yeah, your body language showed a little of your frustration too,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Good luck with your fantasy football podcast. You got a good a sleeper pick for us for all our fantasy football fans out there?
I mean, you look at Frank Gore. He's going to be consistent. He's a starting running back in the Colts. So.
All right, there you go. There's your tip from Dave Sherman, and a little fantasy football spending money there for him too.
There you go. This will start you out. Congratulations. Thanks for bowling with us this time, and look forward to seeing you again.
All right, Dave Sherman comes up a little short against the red-hot Dave Tolkacz, who goes for a 6th consecutive win. That is next on Beat the Champ.
I'm here with Matt Zasowski, a familiar face at Beat the Champ. I don't know if you've been watching any of the shows, but they are a little tougher. Sport Shot out there. Were you part of the voting process for the Sport Shot?
Yeah, as always. Yeah, I don't like them easy. So, yeah, the scores look pretty tough out there, or low, and looks like 180s, 190s looks pretty good.
Do you find that all intimidating?
Not at all. I like it better.
All right. Well, good luck to you out there.
Thank you. Thanks.
Here's the matchup for your second match of the day. The Dave Tolkacz trying to keep that winning streak alive against the very accomplished Matt Zasowski. We'll tell you how well Matt has performed on this show in a moment. But again, looking for 6 wins in a row, which would tie our record. Dave Tolkacz on a 5-match winning streak. He starts on lane 33, doesn't get it to hook over enough, and he'll have some work to do for the spare.
Well, these lanes have changed as we've gone along, but I'm not going to say they changed for the absolute better.
Well, I was going to say they were a difficult challenge last week, and now you're telling me they've changed, so they've gotten harder?
Yeah, it's all in ball speed, and it's all in projection. I mentioned a little bit about angles the last match.
And again, that what appeared to me, and I know you tell me it's not an easy spare, but that looked like an easy spare. Dave only gets 1 pin, so he starts with an open in the first.
It's an easy spare on a house shot. It's not an easy spare
Gotcha.
on anything in the middle of the lane on a house shot is a relative gimme. On a sport pattern, it's the hardest spare there is, the ones in the middle.
So here's Matt Zasowski, 42 years old, from Tonawanda, New York, making his 11th Beat the Champ show appearance. And he starts with a strike. 11 wins and 7 losses. He is tied for, or actually he is number 1 in weekly wins here on Beat the Champ, and he is number 2 in overall wins. So a victory here in this match moves Matt up into a tie with Tyler Moline and Mike Zarcone for most Beat the Champ victories. Haven't seen Matt in a little while, though, not since Lucky Lanes in Fredonia in April.
Well, I'm sure he's been off bowling some tournaments and stuff because Matty doesn't get out of the game for very long, and he is so experienced and so accomplished. You said accomplished, and that was a perfect word to describe him.
So this, not to take anything away, and again,
wow.
You know, Dave Tolkacz has already beaten Mike Zarcone and Michael Kemp twice, but this may be his biggest test because we know how good Matt Zasowski is, not only as a bowler, but on this show. Again, has he mastered some of the challenges of the lanes like Dave Tolkacz has done? We'll find that out. But you're also seeing some things that are starting to affect Dave as well.
Right, well,
too.
let's talk about Matty figuring these lanes out. Matty moved deeper on the lane than anybody has been all day. Matty is playing, he is playing to the left, and he's crossing over, you know, between the 3rd and 4th arrow. That's the deepest anybody has gotten. The interesting thing is to watch whether Dave will take advantage of that and move into that same area. And he's already, this shot right here, which I was curious to see what he would do.
And he doesn't get the pin action. Boy, he had bumped the 7 pin, didn't knock it down.
Well, that's not the traditional way to approach that spare.
Yeah,
so.
a bit of a dreadful start for Dave Tolkacz with opens in the first 2 frames as you get a look at Janelle Sabin and the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, and you see 2 strikes to start for Matt, 2 opens to start for Dave.
So Dave, if he's watching, paying attention, he's going to go where Matty is. As you can see right now, he moved right into the same spot.
And the results are there.
And sometimes that's what you do. Sometimes you have to look at who's bowling good and you have to follow suit. Find a way to make that spot work for you.
Yeah, and I think that's been the key to Dave Tolkacz's 5-match winning streak is he has made excellent adjustments. There's the numbers on Matt Zasowski. I mentioned 42 years old, full-time employment as a cook, but really he's a full-time bowler. We know that about Matt.
I always said I never wanted to bowl for my money for a living. You don't want to bowl for your supper if you don't have
No,
to.
well, at least in Matt's case, he can bowl and make his own supper.
But what we've seen today at Allie Brandt is a perfect reason why you wouldn't want to bowl for your supper, because it's not always what you expect.
Right.
And the person who is the most accomplished or the best bowler isn't always the one that wins. So little luck plays into it.
Long list of achievements for Matt Zasowski bowling in Western New York. An impressive 230 average, bowls 3-4 times a week regularly, has bowled regional tournaments, has bowled PBA tournaments. One of the most accomplished bowlers, along with his buddy Mike Zarcone, ZZ Tap, as we've nicknamed them. But among the Brad Angelo and the rest of the gang, among the best here in Western New York. A disappointing open there in the third frame for Matt.
I don't know. I mean, it just seems so many things keep coming back to Dave Tolkacz. I mean, that is uncharacteristic for Matt to miss that spare. And he took a plastic ball out, went straight at it, just missed it by a hair. And once again, the door is open for Dave to catch back up again.
And he's been good at doing that. Although he hasn't had to play a lot of catch-up, let's be honest. He has been able to jump out to leads in a lot of his matches in this 5-match winning streak. And the 10-pin stays up for Matt in frame number 4.
Well, Maddie's found the best consistent shot on the lane to get to the pocket, but it's not perfect as far as carry goes. I mean, that ball came in a little weak, leaving that 10-pin, but you're always going to want to take the safest shot to the pocket in this situation. So he just needs to make his spares and keep putting the ball in the same spot.
Spare opportunity here in frame number 4, Matt Zasowski. Got it.
We're going to be back with more Beat the Champ bowling action in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
So that tightens this matchup one more time.
Because instead of like the normal tapered pattern that you would see on a house shot, you're seeing oil, dry, you're cutting through oil to try to get it to the right dry spot down the lane. It's very complicated.
You know what, I'm enjoying, particularly enjoying your strategy education for all of us here, but I'm enjoying seeing these guys being pushed a little bit. It's not, like I said, it's not that it's not fun to see these guys putting up 240s and 250s, but it makes, and I think it's what you're doing, which is great, Sue, is it's really bringing out the strategy of what's involved when the guys don't have things going the way they're used to going.
I can tell you that in this case, it's a lot easier back here than it is up
I'm
there,
sure
because
it
it's
is.
such a game of touch at this point. You've watched Manny change his entire approach to the sport. He's moved to the right, and he's looking for just a consistent spot on the lane where the ball does the same thing twice.
Yeah, he's way to the right here as he starts the 7th frame. Between the
Great
first and
shot.
second arrow, and it gets a strike.
He did test a little bit out there in practice. We watched him a little bit try that area on the lane out, and 34 has more hold on it than 33 does. So he made a gutsy move there on 33, and it paid off for him. So when he went to 34, he had to move a little bit right, and he could stay much straighter. But what forced him to do this was Dave starting to strike. If Dave didn't start to strike, he could have stayed where he was and just left 7 pins and 10 pins. But Dave started to strike, so he had to make a move, and that's experience right there.
2 in a row on the strike front for Matt Zasowski. He won't make it 3 in a row. And again, you can see the look on his face, a little disappointing there as he looks down at that right hand.
Well, that's still going to be the challenge of staying out of trouble on lane 33.
So he'll have to pull this spare up from the 8th frame here. Got staring at those 3 pins, 6, 9, 10.
Now the question is Dave going to go up and stay in the same spot he's been, or is he going to follow suit and follow Maddie to where he's moved to on the lane? So we'll see that when he comes back up.
Nice spare in the 8th frame for Matt Zasowski. All right, so now we'll see what Dave Tolkacz does as he tries for a 6th consecutive win to tie our record. Don't forget, we've got qualifying going on. Final chance to qualify is this weekend at the Rapids Bowling Center, and our top qualifier of the 24 will win that Dirt Cheap TV valued at $500. All right, so what did Dave do there? And he probably doesn't like what he did.
He stayed in. He stayed where he was. Got the ball a little bit too far to the right. And this is what you leave, because you hit that strip of dry, then you hit the oil, and then the oil will not allow the ball to recover and hit the pocket. So washout is such a common spare on these sport patterns. You see so many of them.
I'll say unlikely he was going to get all those pins, so now that's a 4th open frame in this match for Dave Tolkacz, and now he finds himself in the hole for just about the first time we can remember in a while. I mean, he's won 5 in a row, and he's been able to put the pressure on his opponent by building the lead, so this is one of the first times where he has not had that happen. And now he's hitting the 9th frame, running out of time.
Well, when Matty practiced, he practiced smart. He tried different spots on the lane, so he knew where his go-to spots were if he started to struggle or something changed for him. And that was very wise. You only get a couple shots on the TV pair, but he used them wisely and tested out the different spots on the lane, which is going to bail him out in this match at the end of the day.
And again, that just goes to the high level of experience and competition that Matt Zasowski is a part of on a regular basis. And then the wheels have come off a bit here for Dave Tolkacz, and clearly on that shot.
Well, he's done great today. I mean, he's really toughed out a difficult shot against really good bowlers. And you know, his attitude is good. His cheering section is fun. But you know, Matty's PBA quality here, and it's also interesting for us to watch him make his adjustments and see how he deals with the adversity, because he knows a lot more about these patterns than anybody we've seen on the show.
So obviously the amount of high-level competition that Matt has taken part in PBA tournaments and regional qualifiers, they're more likely bowling on patterns that are like this.
Mm-hmm. He's seen this,
so he's had more chances to learn the adjustments.
Absolutely.
And another nice spare pickup for Matt Zasowski in the 9th frame.
I really enjoy watching him bowl and watching him think this through, because you can tell from back here, where he's going, what he's thinking, and from watching how the other balls have reacted, it's just interesting to see his approach to, winning this match. Excellent shot.
Good pin action gets Matt a strike. Really hugged the right side of that lane.
Well,
33.
what he did is he opened it up, but he opened it up on the gutter. And let me tell you, that's no easy feat what he just did, because he's actually going left to right. Very little room to go right.
So this match, a tribute to the experience and mental part of the game for Matt Zasowski.
Now he's just trying to figure it out for the next match, because he's got this one under control.
Yep. So the win streak is going to come to an end for Dave Tolkacz as he'll get ready to finish out, and Matt will post up his final score. But what a great run. What a lot of fun it has been to watch Dave Tolkacz kind of come out of nowhere a little bit and really thrill bowling fans here in Western New York. So Matt Zasowski is able to post up an even 200 as a final score, and it's going to be enough to win. Well, Dave Tolkacz's amazing and incredibly fun to watch run comes to an end here, unfortunately for you, Dave, but I want you to reflect back on the 5 wins in a row and the fact that one of the ways that you really did it was being able to make the right adjustments. How important is that in your game?
Well, it's the game. I mean, the modern game is just moving yourself around and anticipating where the oil's going to be. That's what makes it difficult. That's what makes it, a sport and not a game.
Did you surprise yourself with the, again, we had not seen you on this show before last month, and all of a sudden you're right at the top of the list of wins. Did you surprise yourself with the way you bowled?
I look a lot fatter on TV than I think I usually probably look. So yeah, I was a little surprised at that.
Best answer ever by anyone on this show. Good job, Dave. Brian?
Congratulations and a great run here at Allie Brandt Lanes. Thanks for bowling.
Thank you.
All right, Dave Tolkacz making us laugh here after we were completely enjoyable watching him bowl. We got another great match. Matt Zasowski and Kevin Bienko coming up next on Beat the Champ.
I'm here with Kevin Bienko, new to Beat the Champ, but not new to Western New York bowling. You are the reigning Masters champion this year. That's a huge accolade. How was that for you?
Oh, it was great. It was the biggest thing I've ever won, and it feels great to have won a tournament of that magnitude.
Well, following it up with a Beat the Champ win would be pretty good now, wouldn't it?
It'd be very good. Would be ideal.
Okay, so you're used to it from being that was a sport pattern, and this is a sport pattern. So it's going to be an interesting week out there. And what's your strategy?
I played the gutter in qualifying. I'm going to play the gutter again here, hopefully, if it looks good. Soft scores are pretty low, so hopefully just stay clean, make some spares, and win the match.
Third match of the day is a couple of heavyweights here as we wrap this week's stop at Allie Brandt Lanes in Lockport. You see Matt Zasowski, his opponent, Kevin Bienko. We'll talk much more about Kevin in a moment. So really this, Sue, is one of the best bowlers in Western New York versus one of the hottest bowlers in Western New York.
Yeah, this is a real interesting match in that Matty has a lot of experience and he's seen the world as far as bowling goes, seen these conditions before. But Kevin's a great student of the game, which we'll talk about that a little bit more.
With the win over Dave Tolkacz, Matt Zasowski earns his 12th Beat the Champ victory. That is tied for first with Mike Zarcone and Tyler Molina for the most victories on this show since we brought it back in January of 2016.
You know, what's interesting to the viewer would be that you've seen the ball not recover on lane 33, where people are playing in, they hit that 10 board or they hit that second arrow, and the ball just won't turn around. And now you're watching someone move to the right and have the ball like overreact, and that's the difference with the strippy lanes, with the dry boards, with the wet boards, trying to cut through them. Are you going to go up them? Are you going to go around them? That's where the strategy comes in, because you're used to seeing the ball not even come up, and now he's going left, and you're like, what's going on?
Stuff is changing fast, isn't it? It really is, and that's keeping the guys on their toes, which is what's great about this sport. Speaking of great about the sport, you are looking at the debut on Beat the Champ of Kevin Bienko, but a familiar name and a high-level achiever in the sport of bowling in West New York. He is the reigning Obenauer Masters champion, having beaten Brad Angelo to win that incredibly prestigious Buffalo Bowling tournament a couple of months ago. And interesting circumstances. He's 21 years old. He's a student. This is the first time we're seeing Kevin Bienko on our show in a year and a half. I know he competes at higher level tournaments and stuff, but it's good to finally get him here.
Well, when we were filming at South Transit, we were talking to Brad Angelo, and Kevin's name came up quite a bit. First of all, because he did win the Obenauer Masters,
literally like days before that,
which is a huge accomplishment. But where did he come from and how did he get this good was the question. So he has been mentioned on this show, and it's nice that we get to see him throw the ball and see how good he really throws it. Because not only does he have a really strong physical game, he's got a really strong mental game.
Yeah, and for the for the bowlers out there, they understand that. For some of our casual viewers, when you are the Obenauer Masters champion, you wear the crown that is the king of Buffalo bowlers for an entire year, because that tournament is so important, so prestigious, and so difficult to bowl that many games in a double elimination and stay alive for 5 straight days and come up with a win, and then, oh, by the way, beat a PBA caliber guy in Brad Angelo to do it.
In that case, it was the student beating the teacher.
Yes.
But it means he's done his job teaching well, I guess. But knowledge is power, and when you see what we've seen in the last couple weeks here, ball's doing crazy things and not doing what you expect it to do, not hooking when you expect it to hook, and hooking when you don't expect it to hook. Knowledge becomes your tool of how to deal with it, and this is where Kevin is going to be an interesting person to watch.
Right. Well, Matt has that knowledge from all the experience of bowling at a high PBA level. Kevin has it from working with Brad Angelo, being a part of that Bowl U program that really emphasizes and teaches the mental part of the sport. So this is an ultimate chess match.
It is.
Yes.
And you think of it as being a physical sport, but in this case, this has become a mental sport.
And there are the stats on 21-year-old Kevin Bienko from Kenmore with a rather healthy 230 average. He throws down the vinyl outlet lanes here at Allie Brandt lanes in Lockport. And boy, so far, a pretty good start for Mr. Bienko.
And Maddie as well.
Three straight
What
strikes.
sport shot? What sport shot?
Yeah,
I don't know what we're talking about. I think they ran the house pattern when we weren't looking.
Maybe. So 3 consecutive strikes to open things up here for Kevin Bienko. Bowls regularly on a Tuesday night league at Transit Lanes. And of course, a number of high-level achievements already in his young bowling career. 4 in a row.
Wow, this is really exciting to watch because now you have seen in the last 2 weeks every area on this lane being played. You've seen the gutter being played. You've seen people struggle in the typical bowling spot of the 10 board of the second arrow. But now you see Kevin literally crossing between the 4th and 5th arrows, which most bowlers never see.
All right, well, when he comes back up, I want you to talk a little more about that, because anytime you tell me something that is happening that we never see, I want to know why and how risky that is. So hold those thoughts as we look at Matt here in frame number 4. Spare, strike to start things off for Matty Z. Seven pin hangs to prevent the strike in frame number 4.
So this is where the strength in their releases plays a factor. Maddie's got a good release, and everybody's got their own little trick, but the shot is forcing Maddie a little bit more to the right, where with Kevin's hand position and his strength at the bottom of his swing, he can get in deeper and get the ball to recover. Still a good shot by Maddie, though. He's playing his game. He's playing it smart.
Well, played that a little on the edge there.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
He'll slide over to 33. I feel like we spent a lot of time in the first show talking about the differences in the 2 lanes being difficult. That seems to have subsided a bit here in this show.
Well, I think they're making them look a bit like that subsided, too, because they're still, he's very deep on the lane. Look where his feet are. His feet are all the way in the left gutter. And we're going to watch where his ball crosses over. But it went all the way out to almost to the 10 board, down the lane, before it made its turn. And then we'll watch that with Maddie, too.
Right. Well, and again, it's obvious to me, and I'm sure it's obvious to people watching, that, Kevin Bienko's ball is crossing pretty much the middle of the lane, right, on that 5th arrow. All the other things are happening after that, but the differences between Zasowski and Bienko, just based on alignment, are pretty dramatic.
But they're getting down the lane, they're getting the same spot where the ball turns over. And that's finding the friction, because that's in bowling what you want to do. You want to find the dry boards that makes your ball hit harder.
It's nice and comfortable here at Allie Brandt Lanes, even though it's July and it's hot out. And I know last summer we saw Matt struggle a little bit with his grip and finger. I think he had one ball pop out on him at one point, but doesn't figure to be an issue here at all. It's nice and comfortable here.
Yeah.
We got Brian Borowski to crank the air conditioning up.
It's very
Turn
important,
the temperature
though.
down, but crank it up here at Allie Brandt Lanes.
Humidity plays a big part in because there's so much wood, the wood approaches.
Right, and we're coming off a week as we tape here where it was an incredibly humid week. It's a terrible record-setting rainstorm, so I don't know whether that's subsided now because it's a couple of days, but could be a factor as well, too. Now, Matt clearly didn't like what happened on that one.
Well, both these guys lost their carry just a bit, but they're making good shots, they're hitting the pocket, and you'll make your spares, and the lanes will change again, and there'll be another slight little difference that will change how it hits the pins.
I hope everybody out there has been focused and paying attention to the incredible strategy that you are providing for people. I mean, these conditions have been as interesting and challenging as we've had at any point during Beat the Champ in the last year and a half, and you've done a wonderful job in explaining to people how our bowlers need to adapt to them. It's been a great education for me, and I hope a lot of people out there as well.
It's interesting to know that there's a strategy to it, because if you're on a house shot and you're, you've got a good shot to the pocket, an easy shot to the pocket, you may make an adjustment if you're not striking. When you're on a shot like this, you've got a consistent shot to the pocket, you're taking the shot to the pocket, because any move you make can lose the pocket. So if you start to panic and you think, I gotta strike, I gotta strike, I gotta strike, you're gonna think twice before you move on a sport pattern. You're gonna keep the pocket and let the natural changes of the lane hopefully help you carry a little bit better.
Right. Do you, as a bowling fan and certainly someone who understands, do you like the fact that we push these guys a little bit with the sport pattern, or should it, as like anything else, you don't want to do it every week or every month, but is it fun for you to see this?
Well, I've always been like kind of in a unique position, because I have worked in the industry and understand it from the entertainment standpoint. But as a bowler, I understand it from the sportsman situation. I would say, as a bowler, I could never say, oh, give him a house pattern and let him strike for fun. It would just be the wrong thing to say. And watching these guys figure this out has been really interesting. But with that being said, it's not as good to watch. It's not as good entertainment on television. Hopefully,
if you determine entertainment to be a lot of strikes.
Right. Hopefully explaining what's happening out there makes it a little bit, sheds a different light on it.
I'm with you on that. I've very much enjoyed this. I think it's made our jobs a lot more interesting to talk about a lot of other factors that come into play here. So we're at Bienko on the 9th frame. He's got a couple of pins there to pull off this spare in a match that has become very close and very tight. Boy, that thing, talk about cutting the wheel to the left to get that spare.
At the end of the day, this is going to come down to, can someone double? Because one of these two guys, well, Maddie's going to have to double if Kevin doesn't. But for a game that's really been about making spares, the winner here is going to have to win this, you might have to double.
All right, so each guy has made 3 consecutive spares to get them to where we are now, which is the 10th frame. Bienko up first. Big strike for Kevin Bienko.
How's that for pressure?
That is serious pressure. That's a serious answer from a very good bowler.
Let me tell you, that was a great shot under those conditions. I mean, he needs another strike here will shut Maddie out. If he doesn't strike, Maddie's still going to have a chance to get up and double, which is no easy feat.
So Kevin Bienko looking for his first Beat the Champ victory. He will carry over to next week's show with a win.
Great shot.
Huge, big shot that clinches this one for Kevin Bienko. I was going to say Matt Zasowski has a chance to become our winningest Beat the Champ bowler, but it's not going to happen this week. And the defending Obenauer Masters champion, Kevin Bienko, win number 1 on Beat the Champ and a chance to keep bowling, and not unexpected from a guy who is bowling great right now. It's lucky to have him here on the show for our first look, and probably no question at 232, the highest score anyone has put on the board here in the last 2 weeks at Allie Brandt Lanes. Well, Matt, your 221 score would have been good enough to win every other match here for the first 2 weeks at Allie Brandt. Obviously not necessarily today. Do you enjoy the challenge of not only bowling a great guy like Kevin Bienko, but all the challenges that the pattern has given everybody here?
Yeah, I'm a big component of harder patterns. I don't like the easier ones. And this obviously was pretty difficult. We're 2 pretty good bowlers, so we kind of made them look a little easier, but they had some play on them, and we threw some shots. So Kevin got out to the fast start. I threw some shots late that could have struck, didn't, and move on to next time.
Yeah, and it was a great match to watch. And Brian, I know you enjoyed it, and we certainly did too.
Yeah, as we talked earlier, that more people that play on the lanes, the little bit easier, so to speak, lane conditions seem to be.
All right, give him his money there, will you?
Congratulations. Thanks for bowling.
All right. Sue, talk to our winner over there.
Kevin, how does Bowl U, how's your experience with Bowl U help you when you see a pattern like this?
It's a lot of experience, a lot is Bowl U. You have to know the different balls and how they all roll and how they relate to each other. And you need to get out on the lane, see what's out there, and do your best to figure it out. And that's what I did today.
So knowledge is key in something like this, because you guys made a very difficult shot look playable. And I have to think that experience and knowledge has been a part of that.
Oh, definitely. Knowledge probably more than anything.
All right, well, good job. You're a really good student of the game.
Thank you.
Yeah, knowledge is power, even in the sport of bowling. And Sue's got plenty of knowledge. She'll give you a little more of it when we come back to wrap up this week's day here at Allie Brandt Lanes in Lockport. You're watching Beat the Champ. Well, Sue, you just said it. Never in this show have we seen knowledge of bowling and of conditions and ball choices play a bigger role in determining our winners and losers.
Right. Well, it's made my job easier because all the stuff I tried to explain, it was like having somebody roll it out for you while you're talking about it. So, yeah, knowledge is power, and it shows that this game is a little tougher than it seems.
Yeah, Kevin Bienko is going to come back. 3 new challengers for him next week. Finally, you got to write a couple 200 scores down on the Castellone scoreboard.
Definitely. I mean, I always say it. You know, I love when my bowlers get their strikes because it makes the math a lot easier for me.
It sure does. Yeah, it does. Well, we'll see. Can Kevin Bienko continue those 200 scores? Are we going to drift back to where we were at the beginning of our bowling at Allie Brandt Lanes? Guess what? You got to tune in next week to find out. We will see you next week on Beat the Champ.